This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Welcome to Moments of Clarity with Tiffany Werner, licensed mental health counselor in the state of Florida. Moments of Clarity's mission is to educate and end the stigma on mental health through the inspirational stories of our exceptional guests. You can join in the show by calling Tiffany toll-free at 866-826-1340 or on Facebook and Twitter at MOC with Tiffany. Now, here's Tiffany Werner.
Hi, thanks for listening. This is Moments of Clarity. My name is Tiffany Werner. I'm a licensed mental health counselor, and I'm your host. And we're going to be talking about toxic relationships and how to overcome them and what can really affect us if we're in the wrong relationship or if we're tied into the wrong person or even in our family, but especially with our loved ones. And my guest today is known as the professional survivor, and she's been on the show before, but she survived a lot. And so I brought her back in, and we're going to talk about different aspects. First, I want to say hi to Ed behind the glass, and thank you for everything.
You're welcome.
And he helps run the show, so I've got to give thanks to where it's deserved. And I want to welcome to Moments of Clarity my guest, Jen Goodhue. Hi, Jen.
It's me. How are you?
Hi.
Good morning.
Just talk louder in the phone, and we'll be fine. But
oh, sorry.
There you go. I can hear you now. So, Jen, you've been on the show before. We've tagged you as the professional survivor, and we've been talking even today that we're going to kind of go into how that's possible when you go through so much stuff, and especially when people try to get in our way and have a setback. And,
right.
I mean, it can be family or loved ones.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I like that you're tagging me that way. I've definitely been called worse before.
Haven't we all?
That's a fun one. Right, exactly. Yeah, so many of us, it's funny, the more and more I encounter more people and the more comfortable I am with telling my story, the more I get out of other people. And it is so clear to me that there are so many people that end up in a toxic place one way or another. Sure. And it's, what do you do, Tiffany, in those moments to recognize that and pull yourself out of that situation so that you can stand on your own 2 feet and be the person that you're capable of being? Mm-hmm. And I'm sure you see it every day. I was just looking, at some of your past, even just last 2 shows. Those both resonate with me really well. I mean, the father of my children, I started out with him. He was a great man. He was driven. He was really, successful, entrepreneurial, and it kind of helped propel me in that direction. And then it was like, he ended up getting a lot of flexibility, and it all went crazy. And all of a sudden, my life was in this downward spiral with 2 small children, and he's out of control. And where do you find that balance of loving someone but loving yourself equally as much or more?
Right. How do you find that?
And I don't know. Well, I do know. For me, I know for everyone else it's different, I guess is what I was trying to say, that every person has kind of a different point where they break and they say, I can't do this anymore and I need to get through this. And they either pull themselves out, or in other situations that I've been in after losing my fiance, for example, I ended up in another relationship that was, I was having trouble pulling myself out of it because I myself was just so beaten down and so low that I didn't see those moments of clarity that I needed to have in that time.
You get a bell every time you say that. What happened with your fiance? How'd you lose him?
So it was a culmination of things. I think I mentioned on the last show that I was out of town and I think some things were going on. He had some internal bleeding and, we did 2 weeks in the ICU, 6 weeks in the ICU and then 2 weeks in hospice. And at 30 years old, it was like I didn't even know left from right and up from down and what was going on because it was just such a crazy fast thing that then to try and recover from that and get through it, I was lost as a person for a year, 2 years. I was in a very dark place because I couldn't understand how such a great person was taken from me after all the tragedy that I had, endured with the man before that. And it was just so tragic and terrible that I couldn't see the light at the end of the tunnel at that time. But I think the thing
sudden
that
loss of anyone
that,
we love is awful, and it can make a hole in our heart that it's hard to replace and repair.
Yeah, but I think the thing that everyone has to see is that no matter how dim that light is in that tunnel, it's there somewhere. You just have to find it within yourself, not necessarily within other people. Now, other people can be there to balance you and call you out on things, and you have to be receptive of that. You have to actually be open to hearing those things and determining how am I going to get myself back to me. And it for me, it took a long time. And I know so many people that will tell me the same story, whether it's that they were with someone that hurt them badly, or they know, a family member that's an addict, or whatever it is that or personal tragedy. There's a lot of people that have that going on and have all had to say, okay, I need to be a better me.
Agreed. And so when you're feeling down like that, we're more vulnerable to bad things coming into our life. You want to talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah. For a while, the vulnerability for me personally, being a very driven person and type A and always on top of things and never late to meetings and things like that, the vulnerability was out there when people were seeing changes in my behavior of like, Jen is down. This is not normal. And there were many times that I had loved ones or people come and say, Jen, you're vulnerable right now, you're hurt, and you're not you. And it took a while to break through to me, but luckily for me, I had those type of people in my life. And those people to really truly bring those other moments of clarity out in me and say, listen, these are the things that you've accomplished, and these are the things that you've conquered in the past. This one is terrible, but you can get through it. You can do it.
Right. So what were some things that were going on at that time when you found yourself in that relationship?
Well, so the first, I guess it will help to go back to the first relationship of being in a space with someone that is an addict, and you never knew that they were, so deep into it until it slaps you in the face, because I've learned now that alcoholism or any of that, it truly is a disease. And if you're not, predisposed to that or don't have those type of behaviors, it's very hard to understand, which then leads you into massive enabling. And that is a lot of what I found myself doing for so long, covering up lies, covering up secrets, not, being dismissive with my family because I didn't want to tell them what was going on or how bad it really was. Feeling like I couldn't do the things that I needed to do on a day-to-day basis because I couldn't leave my kids alone. Just even the thought of taking my son to baseball practice when I was his coach and trying to leave my younger son with my ex at the time, I would be on pins and needles the entire time. And so I would be distracted from
That's not a good feeling.
Yeah. It's a tough feeling because you have to do the things that you enjoy or that you should do for your children or whatever it is. But if you're hurting inside and that person there's something that God has to give, it's a really, really dark place to be alone because you don't want your vulnerabilities exposed. If you haven't been through that or haven't realized it until that slaps you in the face.
Even being the relationship partner of someone that's self-destructive, let's just say, for lack of better words. Yeah. It's shameful. It's hard to admit that we're allowing it to happen when it's happening.
It is. You're absolutely right. It's painful. It's painful when other people can see that you're enabling and they call you out and you don't even really know what that means because you're like, I'm just trying to get this person to see what they should be, how they should be normally, when they're a whole person, and you don't realize all the things that you do to try and protect your little bubble and your walls that you have built a family for, and you don't want it exposed.
Right, and all the danger that could happen, and people saying things, and you're trying to be a good mom, and you're trying to do your best, and also if it's post a loss like that with your ex-fiance, I'm really sorry for your loss too. But if it's after that, going from one relationship that seemed to fail, even though it was out of your control, but to another one that's in your control that you're trying so hard to get control of, that could be very, very hard.
It absolutely can. And you don't realize that you're in this downward spiral with them too. And so that one that I was talking about was before I lost my fiance. So then you couple that on top of it, and that is what led me into a very dark place that you were referring to, with a relationship that I struggled with for about a year that got domestically violent, that I all of a sudden realized, my children were possibly in danger. I have to get out of this. This is not who I am. It's not me, and I don't want to be in this situation. And, it's tough because you see potential in someone and you want that to grow, but if it's dragging you down that far that you're saying, oh my gosh, I would never, ever, ever think to let this happen to my children, for example, I need it to stop for me. But pulling yourself out of those situations and seeing the true clarity of what's going on is really
I just love that bell.
Sometimes.
I love that.
Yeah, I love your bell.
For the record, everybody, every time someone says moment of clarity, I ring a bell.
I'm going for the winning record here.
I want to invite people to call in, and if you've been in a toxic relationship you want to share with us, or if you've been the toxic person in a relationship and you want to talk about that, feel free to call in and join the live discussion. It's 866-826-1340, 866-826-1340. And we'd love to hear from you and join us. And sometimes telling your story is so empowering. And not only that, it helps others. 866-826-1340. I think everyone has been through a bad relationship. And we always have one of those in our family that rubs us the wrong way. I'm pretty sure that we all have one.
Yeah.
I can't think of anyone that doesn't. But yeah, and I think that a lot of it it's a lot of learning experiences too. Like, we overcome so much by learning through our mistakes, and it makes us stronger. There's a meme that I love. It says, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, but run from bears. Bears will kill you. It's like, yeah, besides that, but most of our experiences do allow us to learn from them and to grow, even if it's in a way we don't like to. And so, Jen, when you...
And I think... I was just going to say, one thing that I think that helps me, that I think everyone needs to be open to, and this is especially why I love your show and your mission and your cause, is that everyone has struggles, like you said, whether it's a family member or a bad relationship they've been in, or someone they know that's in a toxic relationship or situation. You need to seek help. You need to find an outside source, an outside voice, a counselor, someone who can pull you through that. And so that's where I would like to ask you to add in your perspective as a mental health therapist, and how you help teach coping mechanisms and things like that, because I think it's so important that people understand the value behind that.
Well, a lot of things after something damaging like that, it really hits our self-esteem. And when people are enabling or allowing things to happen, we have to take a look within and see if our self-esteem is in check, and our self-worth and our confidence. And those are all three different things. Our self-worth is how we feel about ourselves, our self-esteem. It's so crucial to what we allow in our lives, too. Like they say that we attract from the outside what we feel inside. So if you feel like a wounded bird, you're going to attract other wounded birds. And it's going to end probably a difficult relationship or friendship there. If we feel good inside or confident, we're going to attract other confident people, because people that feel good about themselves, they're going to feel good next to other people that are confident. And that's, textbook stuff.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, the self-esteem thing really resonates with me, because it hit an all-time low. I mean, at rock bottom, my butt was skidding on it, for real. It was down there, and I felt like I had no worth to anyone. And
it's an awful way to feel.
Years after, it's like there are days where I'm like, I killed it that day, or I crushed it. And so I think another thing, too, for us as humans is to recognize when you have made progress forward, that you not only hold yourself accountable when you have issues, but that you also give yourself accolades when you make it, further than you thought you could go, or you do take those steps forward.
I want to get to that in a second, recognizing how far we've come and how to know when to stand on our 2 feet and push forward. We're going to take our first break, and we'll be back with Moments of Clarity in just a moment. Please stay tuned.